My name is Louis Beck. I live out here in the southern part of Black Hawk County near Buckingham, Iowa, and I raise apples as well as other various garden vegetables and so on. But when I was growing up, my dad and my mom were really conscious of planting lots of apple trees. So when I was growing up, we always had apples, fresh apples to eat. And so when I was on my own, got my own place, I wanted to continue to have apples. So I planted, I don't know, 50, 60 apple trees on my own. Between here and another farm that we have. And I like to have different varieties, different maturities, different colors, different tastes, just to kind of explore the different types of apples that are available. What we have here are kind of what the apples that I'm picking right now and taking to farmers market. So these are kind of the last of the fall apples that I have. And of course, one that everybody's really heard of is Macintosh. That's an apple that everyone really likes really well. It's really sweet, it's kind of soft, really good for cooking, applesauce, and so on. And so that's one that's it's kind of sweet, and that's why people like it. I mean, personally, I like a sweet apple as opposed to one that's really sour or tart, and so that's one of my favorites. This is one that I sold a lot of at market. It's like a golden delicious. It's called Honey Gold, and it's super, super sweet. And again, that's why I like it really well. This is one that's Cortland, and Cortland is an apple that's really old. It's like one of the antique varieties. In fact, Macintosh was developed from this. What people like about it is, number one, it's really juicy, but also when you cut it, it's really super white in color, and so it doesn't turn brown like some apples turn brown really, really fast. Like this one right here, for example, is already turning brown, and this one just stays really, really white, and it's really good for cooking applesauce. This is my favorite for apple pies, probably. And then we have one that's kind of unusual. And I have a collection of antique varieties, which are really old varieties that were grown in the 1700s or even earlier sometimes. This is one that came from out east called sheep nose. And they called it, another name for it is black cauliflower, because they're super dark color. The texture of it's very different. It's kind of an acquired taste. I think a lot of people, when they taste it, think that doesn't really taste like an apple. But I like it, and it's one of our more unusual varieties. So all the trees that I have planted here are semi-dwarf trees, and they really you need to allow about 15 feet apart. So all of these trees in here, you can see they're kind of in rows, about 15 feet apart. And they need that much room because when their branches go out and so on, they just need room for sunlight to get in there to make the apples get ripe, so they can get a nice color and so on. But they do need full sun. If you have an apple tree that's in the shade, it'll just probably, number one, not grow correctly, and number two, probably never produce apples. So we do need lots of room, lots of sunlight. However, this is a yard here, and so we do try to space them out, but yet try to have a lot of apples in one area. All the trees that I have planted in the past 20 years are what they call semi-dwarf, which means they're not full-sized. And so like this tree right here is a Jonathan. It's been planted probably 25 years ago, but it's about 3/4 of the size it would normally be. And so it's a special tree that's been grafted to do that. And having a smaller tree like this makes it easier to pick, makes it easier to take care of it, easier to spray it, and so on. And they still have lots and lots of apples, obviously, but just a lot easier to handle. This is, as I said, a Jonathan tree. And so this tree is getting to the point now where they're ready to start picking apples. They are a fall apple, a late fall apple. You can see that all of the apples occur right on these little short what they call spurs off of the main branch. So none of them really on the main branch, they're just all these little spurs that come off of them. And so every single apple here was at one time a blossom last spring. And they got pollinated either by the air or maybe by a honeybee or a wasp or something pollinated it. And then it allowed it then to produce an apple. So you can see this tree right here has thousands of apples. And not all of them are the same size. I wish they were all, you know, a size like this, but there's some smaller ones. And of course, people do prefer big apples, and so we do sort them by size when we get them ready for market. One of the first things that we do to all of our apple trees in the spring, just like probably in March and April, is we need to give them a haircut. We need to prune them. And because if we leave an apple tree to go on its own, it would just get really super thick with branches everywhere, going everywhere, leaves everywhere. And that doesn't really leave room for the apples to grow, to get nice and big, and to get the right color and to actually get ripe. And so what we need to do is go through there with a pruner, and we actually cut out branches to make it so that all of the branches have space. They're kind of spaced apart, and then all of your apples then have room to grow. Now the problem with that is what an apple tree does when you do that is they will start to react to that by putting out even more branches. So like next spring on this tree, we'll have to go through and take out all of these little branches right here that are growing so that this opens up. Because you see in this tree, there's all kinds of places here where it looks like I've cut off branches, and that's exactly what happened. I've been pruning this tree for many years now, trying to get the correct shape so all the branches are spread out, so all the apples have plenty of room. Apple trees really do like a lot of full sun, and they like warm weather. When it's warm, hot, it doesn't make any difference. They grow well as long as they have full sunlight and so on. But winter can be kind of hard on apple trees. And so we have located our apple trees kind of inside like windbreaks, and so they're protected from the winter winds. And also, we just hope that after a winter that they've made it through the winter, that nothing freezes completely. But then probably the biggest problem we have is if we get like a really late frost, like in May, after the blossoms have already happened. These apple trees will probably start blossoming in about the first part of May. And once your blossoms come out, then they really are trying to produce apples for that coming year. If you get a really hard frost, like say it gets below 32 degrees for a few hours, when the blossoms are out, that might then determine that you will not have very many apples that year. This year I had several trees that just did not have nearly as many apples as they should, just because they got caught by some really cold weather last spring in May. So apple trees can make it through a winter, but depending on how harsh the winter was or how long it goes into the spring, it may definitely determine how many apples you get. Okay, so obviously there is no machine that picks apples very well. And so when I pick apples, I do it by hand. I do have what's called a picking bag. I have 3 of these. So all they really are is just something that I can have right on my belly, so it's pretty balanced. Then I will just go through and start picking apples, putting them right in the little pouch here. If I'm picking for a specific purpose, like for market, I try to go through and pick only the larger ones, so I don't have to do as much sorting when I go to shine them up and put them in the bags. So I am pretty selective as to which ones I pick. And most trees, you know, to pull an apple off, it takes some effort. I mean, they don't fall off by themselves usually, which I like trees where the apples will stay on, they don't fall off. Because if they fall off, they usually get bruises on them, and they may get contaminated by an animal or something. And so I want my apples to all stay on as long as possible, and I will pick them off. It does take a long time, but you get pretty fast at it. And you just keep going at it until my bag is full, which will happen here pretty soon. And my bag holds somewhere around 3/4 of a bushel. That's about 30 or 40 pounds. And it's full. what I have here will probably make about 5 or 6 bags to sell. Let's go over here, and I just very carefully put it in the bottom there, take my strings off. And very carefully put it in the bushel. I do spray them for pests, and so when I do, before I sell them, I do take a cloth, like the clean cloth, and I shine them up so they look nice, plus also to get any residue from any pesticides on there. But you still really do have to wash them, because in order to make them look nice like this, I do have to use some fungicide, and have to use insecticide to prevent worms, to prevent fungus. You know, and even though I do spray them occasionally, I still get some diseases. Here's a fungal disease called apple scab. And so even though I do spray them, there still are some problems. If I didn't spray them with fungicides, the apples would all be covered with this apple scab. And so just to protect quality, we do have to do something to protect them from diseases. So that's why you really do need to wash anything you get, even from me or from a store. You need to wash them thoroughly before you eat them. Kind of the size, and they're all the same size. Like I said, if I get one that's really bad, then I just put it over there. Mm-hmm. And so by now I kind of know what fits in the bag. And so then I just put them in the bag. This. I have a little twisty here. And then of course label it so everyone knows what they have. These are Cortlands. And they're ready for market. 2 Cortlands. A couple of these, a couple of my weird ones, a couple of Macintosh. What else do I have? So I sell my apples, most of them probably. I sell them directly to the consumer, directly to people. They come to farmers market on Saturday mornings. I'm in Waterloo. They have between 4 and 5 pounds in a bag, and I just sell one bag for $5. So they come in a bag like this, and they just pick it up, and they just carry it off just like this. And so usually I'll have one kind in a bag. But I also do sell large quantities. I sell them in bushels. These are the baskets I sell them in. So I sell a whole bushel like this to people. Usually it's institutions like UNI, University of Northern Iowa, buys some. The Western Home, which is a retirement community, buys some. Union Community School, where I used to teach, buys whole bushels from me. And so in that case, I'll just have a whole bushel in this. Like one of these, like level full, would be a bushel. It's about 45 pounds. And I sell them that way also. So I really like growing apples. Number one, I like eating apples. I like eating them fresh. I like them in pies. I like them in apple crisp. I like caramel apples. I really do like apples, but I really do enjoy growing them. It's hard work, especially the pruning part in the spring. It is a lot of work. I mean, I have to get ladders and I climb trees and I have pruners and I have a pruning saw. And so it's a pretty good workout to prune all the trees I have, because I have like 55 trees that I have to take care of. And then during the year, I have to watch for pests and spray if I need to, and so on. But it's just really fun for me to watch the apples develop. And then when I see a tree that's just getting ripe, and there's a lot of them there, and they're bright red, just makes me feel really good that I have been a part of producing those apples. But the biggest satisfaction, of course, is just picking them. to go out there and pick bushels and bushels and bushels of apples that I can sell to people, and they love having good, fresh, healthy apples to eat. And then my wife is a really good pie baker, and so she takes apples and makes great apple pies and apple crisp and things like that I really enjoy and that we can enjoy with our friends.